Yes, ma'am. This is Mr. Kamal at policeabuse.com.
Oh, hi.
Okay, and your name is Umbreen, right?
I'm Breen, yeah.
Okay, Umbreen, tell me the name of the police department you're complaining about, and I'm going to be
Um,
taking it. Hold on, I'm going to be taking a recorded statement, and then we will contact the police department to help you with your complaint.
okay. It was the Monroeville Police Department. That's in Pennsylvania.
Okay, and so it was the Monroeville Police Department?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me what happened.
Well, last night there's like a pretty big storm, like on the East Coast, so it was like kind of the first big snow of here, and so I was driving, and I was in a car accident where I just like completely lost control of my car, and I crashed into a parked car. And I wasn't injured or anything, but obviously the police came, and the officer who was who was doing my report, he was like just harassing me, like right from the beginning, instead of just asking me the questions like in a straightforward manner. He was accusing me, like he was really sarcastic with me,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like saying like, oh, why is it that every other car on this road can get by but you can't? Like, what were you doing? He was basically just trying to like get me for doing something wrong, like being on the phone or speeding or something. And I was obviously crying. I mean, I've never been in a car accident before, and he was just making me even more upset. So I started crying even more, and he started screaming at me like to stop crying, and it escalated into like him threatening to arrest me if I didn't stop crying. And like he said that he was gonna, if I like I was like he said that he was gonna cite me for speeding even if I actually wasn't. And he kept saying like I'm gonna cite you for this and make sure that you lose if you appeal it. He kept saying that repeatedly, and obviously I was like still really upset. And the thing that was like I thought was absolutely inappropriate was that he also was we were obviously standing on the road,
Mm-hmm.
and he kept saying that I was obstructing traffic, like on a highway. I mean, it was not a highway; it was like a residential road, and I was not standing in the middle of the road. And he kept telling me like, go sit in your car, blah blah blah. And I was like, I mean, I was just really upset, and I was like, I just want to know what you're gonna cite me for, what's going on. And at one point, I was sitting behind his police car, and there was a car coming by in the other lane. Like we were on the left side of the lane, like off of the road, and an oncoming traffic was coming, and I was behind his car, and he was like further onto the road than I was, and he put me into a chokehold and pushed me off into the snow. Like I was honestly in no danger of being hit by the car, like at all, but he put me into a chokehold and just pushed me. And like I just could not believe that he did that. Like he had no reason to touch me in any way at all, but he just like very forcefully like pushed me. And that's probably my biggest concern.
Let me back up and go over a few questions. And I
Okay.
have you on a speakerphone, so if you have any difficulty hearing me, let me know. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I want to go back over the original accident, and then I want to talk about what led up to him putting his actual hands on you. Um,
Okay.
in the accident itself, was any damage done to your car, and were you injured?
Oh yeah, my car, the whole front of my car was smashed. I mean, the airbag was deployed. My car was towed, and I was fine. I mean, the airbag hit my nose really hard, and it's still like in pain right now. But other than that, I'm fine.
Okay. And were you the only party involved in the accident, or was there other parties?
No, I was alone in the car, and the car that I hit was a parked car. There was nobody there.
Okay. So you were alone, and there was no other driver, and the car that you hit was parked.
Right.
Okay. And it was over this blistery weekend with all this bad weather.
Yeah, it's very cold and snowy.
Okay. And did you lose control of the car, or how did you end up in the accident?
Yeah, I was driving, and it was sort of like a little bit of a slope. I think maybe that might have been the reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I hit ice or something and totally lost control of the car. Like I tried to steer like in the other direction, but like at that point I was like I couldn't do anything. And it was from a pretty considerable distance that I slid. Like it wasn't even close to the car. I slid all the way to the car.
Okay, well let me interrupt because I've worked as a traffic officer, and so I know some of the questions that are relevant here, and so far you're doing okay. But I'm going to ask you some further tough questions to make sure that you're on firm footing when we make your complaint, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, so you said you're in a single person accident, no other parties involved except another driver's vehicle that was parked and unoccupied. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And were there any witnesses?
To the accident or to the...
To either event, either the accident or the officer's behavior.
I don't think there were any witnesses to the accident, but my mom and brother and sister all witnessed his behavior.
Okay, all right. Then I'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, so you had the accident. Did you call the police or did someone else call the police?
Somebody else, a family stopped and comforted me and called the police for me.
Okay, so some good Samaritans pulled over, assisted you, and called the police.
Yes.
Okay, now did you have anything to drink?
No, not at all.
Okay, were you speeding?
No, I definitely was not speeding.
Okay, were you driving recklessly in any way? I mean, spinning your tires or doing anything foolish?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you were basically just the victim of an accident that could have happened to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay, and your intention when the police pulled over was what? To just explain to him what happened and hopefully get a report and then take that to your insurance company?
Right. I had I didn't think for a second that I would be put in a situation where I would be looked at like I did something wrong. I just thought they were going to help me.
Okay, and do you have any record of being hostile or anti-police?
No, never.
Okay, do you have a lengthy arrest record? I mean, have you been to Folsom Prison or San Quentin or anything like that?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, so you have no arrest record, you have no hostility towards the police, and your only intention was simply to report what happened.
Right.
Okay, did you try to leave the scene? Did you try to run away and not report it?
No.
Okay, and you knew legally that you should stay there and report it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It felt really bad.
All right, so you had no reason to even have a fight with the police based on what you've told me so far.
No, not at all.
Okay, so now let's get to the officer. You're essentially what it sounds to me like you're saying that he had some predetermined attitude that you were responsible for the accident and he was determined to prove it.
Right.
Okay, what did he accuse you of that he felt was the cause of the accident?
He accused me of driving at an unsafe speed. He didn't give me a speeding ticket, obviously, because he didn't have proof of it. But he cited me, he gave me a citation for driving at an inappropriate speed, due to the conditions. And the thing that bothers me most about it is that he, before he wrote the citation, because I was crying, he said, "If you don't stop, I'm going to cite you for this, and you're going to lose if you appeal it." He was actually saying "I don't care if it's true or not, but I'm going to cite you for it because you're
So he basically threatened to write you a citation because you were crying.
Yes. So I was very upset because instead of him just saying "Okay, what happened?" he was like, "Oh, so you were obviously doing this, right? Because there's no way that this accident would have happened if you weren't speeding." And I was just "Excuse me, can you just ask me the questions and not accuse me of things?"
Well, let me just say a couple of things. You know, I was a police officer for 10 years. I've been to driving school. I've been in pursuits. I know how to take vehicles out. I do all that stuff that you see on TV. And I've had accidents. An accident can happen to anybody. That's what an accident is. Okay?
Right.
So without other evidence supporting his allegations, he should have at least accepted your story as 50% possible and should not have made judgments in the way that you described. I would consider that part of his conduct unprofessional. The way that he was talking to you sounded to me to be demeaning, hostile, and angry, which adds up to unprofessional. The second allegation that I would assess based on what you've told me is that he used excessive and unreasonable force. If you were not presenting a risk to your own safety, I'm sure he's going to say otherwise, but based on what you've told me, it doesn't sound like it is. He shouldn't have put his hands on you. So we're going to proceed with a call to the police.